bring it in with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe, and Henry Abbott. How are you, everybody?
Let's go.
Wait, so before we get into Henry's fantastic piece on the dysfunction that is the Portland Trailblazers,
Space Jam 2.
well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I did love the ABC clip of Monty talking to the Suns after Game 4. You know, everything you want is on the other side of hard. And Coach, I know as a coach, you love that because that's not just true for basketball. That's true for life, right? Anything that's worth achieving, man, you're gonna have to bust your ass to get it.
There were two things I liked. One is, life is a slog. I say it all the time. The NBA is a slog. Life is a slog. Just deal with it. This is how it is, right? I like that he said, we put ourselves in this position. And he didn't mean 2-2. He meant we get 2 or 3 next games at home. Like, that's why we were a 2 seed. I memo to every other team out there. It's a nice selling point. He's right. I also loved, and Henry tweeted this, Dario Saric was like drinking the Kool-Aid with both hands.
Oh yeah, Dario was loving it.
My heart sunk. I mean, this is a very good player, not a great player, and I don't know that he wouldn't be great had he gone to a different team when he first came out.
And we know they miss him in this series for sure.
For sure they do. He's a very good player. I imagine being a player. I think of average means at best in a foreign country, and you get to be a lottery pick. And you play on bad teams in the NBA, and you finally make it to the finals, and you're actually an important player, not the most important, but clearly important. And then you have a damn serious injury to come out for a year. And, Kawhi Leonard's sitting in the cheap seats, right? And not going to the locker room. This guy is just soaking it all in. I can only imagine what he said after they brought it in, huddled up. Like, this guy, like, who wouldn't want to coach that dude, man?
Oh,
I would.
For sure.
I love that.
And as we know, Henry, the good stuff, they don't put that on TV, right? They edit that package real nice together so we don't get all the strategy and the other stuff. But I bet there's some of the pretty good gems in there.
Yeah.
I actually get this. People ask me this fairly often, like, why are coaches so stupid? Why everything they ever say on TV is like, we gotta win? And like, coaches aren't that stupid. The answer is because there's a person who listens to it at the coach's behest to take out all the strategy. They do actually talk strategy.
Yes, lots of strategy.
Just to make this final point that we have a lot more important to talk about. Honestly, 99% or more of the audience would have no fucking idea what was
right.
Like, if you sat on the phone with me, as my wife and my son has done many times, and I'm in a strategy phone call, none of it's going to make sense to you without the context that we have over the course of days, months, weeks, years, studying the game, talking the game. It'd be terrible TV. It sounds great. Terrible TV. So I don't know why we're getting better stuff from Monty in this than we typically get, other than Monty's done it. He does say some charming and inspirational things. But yeah, that always plays. I wish we get more of that. I don't think many coaches always recognize their role as to breathe spirit that way, the way clearly Monty's very much a leader that way.
Yeah, the Scott Skiles clip isn't gonna.
Scott Skiles. So the Portland Trailblazers, Henry, and when I read your piece, and obviously we were hearing things, talking to people, what's going on around there. The meme that pops into my mind is Vince Lombardi, legendary NFL football coach, on the sideline of a game, his team playing terribly, and he's just yelling with his hands in his pockets, freezing. What the hell is going on out here? So what is happening in Portland right now, Henry?
I mean, They're a good team. They've been to the playoffs every year of Dame's career since he was a rookie. They've been to the Western Conference Finals. Like, this is an above average team, but they've made some bets lately, right? And I don't know, there's been a lot of allusions to quiet conversations between Damian Lillard and Neil Olshey, and Dame said that he told Neil what he really thinks, and he always does, and this kind of thing. The trust is broken. The trust is broken in every level, in every way, right? Like, every way you could look at, like, this web of trust that makes a beautiful family, that, like, nobody trusts anybody right now. This is for sure. I think that the way it was supposed to go was that the Blazers were going to have an improved defense from having a different coach, and they would keep roughly the same roster. And then Jody Allen would sell the team in the months or year to come. And then and having Lillard on the roster, feeling happy, winning more games, better defense, would make the sale price delightful to Jody Allen. The method that Neil Olshey decided to use to bring in his selected coach was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And he bet in particular on his ability to just snow people, just bulldoze people. I think this kind of stuff has happened a lot in NBA history, but it didn't work this time. And he was so disdainful, and he riled up local reporters, which he's been sort of rebuffing for his whole time in Portland. And OPB, Oregon Public Broadcasting, after he was just so indignant, Neil was, about how good their investigation was, Oregon Public Broadcasting called the attorney of the alleged rape victim of Chauncey Billups years ago, and the attorney said that she had not been contacted. It was news to them that the Blazers had done an investigation. And I read that, and I still don't know how it's going to end, but I read that, and my feeling was, you have to fire Neil Olshey now. Not necessarily, I don't think Jody Allen has the moral high ground here, but because no one's going to believe a thing Neil Olshey says for another several years.
Right.
And let's say you want to sell Portland on the person, on Ben Simmons, or whoever they're going to trade for. Like, Neil Olshey can't do that sales job.
Definitely not.
He's of no value here, right? Like, so I think we'll get a different story what's going to happen with Neil Olshey, but I don't think he's long for the Blazers. And now you might think, I guess there was sort of a feeling among Blazer fans that Lillard said early in the process that Billups was among his approved coaching choices. So now they have Billups, maybe Dame's on board. Like, didn't work.
You know, as you mentioned, Neil, very indignant, saying to, I believe it was Jason Quick, that's proprietary, Jason. It's like, okay, everyone would assume that if you're doing any kind of background research, you would at least get in touch with the victim or start there, right? You didn't even do that. So it doesn't even matter whatever else you did, because you didn't do anything, because that was the one step you had to do. You did not even contact the people associated with her. It's done. So you have to be out of here, which maybe is kind of what Neil wanted all along, to not be in charge anymore.
I don't think he would mind. From what we heard, right? Like one of the ways it could go is Neil gets fired. He has a pretty big deal, and if he's fired, he gets to keep all the money. And he's never loved the city of Portland. This is like the NBA's worst kept secret. Is he's from New York. He made his name in LA. Like, he likes those places. Portland is not like that. And Portland's Portland's a tough place to like. Portland fans are unreasonable. I say with love, but like, Portland fans expect everybody to be, Terry Porter or Clyde Drexler, or like, you're going to take us to the finals and we're never going to have drama. And like, that's just not how the real world works.
No, not at all.
But Henry, if you're fired for cause, isn't there an argument that Portland could try to fire him and not pay him because of basically just being deceitful?
We need to get legal on that. I would guess it's in his contract, like how that would work. But,
Not you can guess that, but there's no guarantee it's really well written, as I've experienced. If you remember when Jay Williams got in a motorcycle accident, the NBA always puts in a clause, well, we don't pay you if you get hurt in a motorcycle accident, and every agent worth his salt who's paying his attention takes it out, and the NBA doesn't fight it. They're not going to fight it, and Bill Duffy didn't, and then promised. I think it was Bill Duffy. Maybe it's been a long time. But I thought it was Duffy, but whoever it was, and they maybe it was Duffy may have said something else where he didn't actually pay, and then he claimed he did pay. But that they made a mistake on Jay Williams one, and so who knows if it's in there or not.
Yeah, true.
But there's another issue too, which is, well, you nailed it, Henry. But I don't think you went through it the way you did with us before we started. You talked about Damian supposedly supporting Chauncey.
Yep.
But what have we heard from Damian relating to Chauncey's hire since the day he got hired?
Dame's language has changed, Henry, over the last 3 months, I'll say.
He mentioned the words Chauncey Billups as coaching candidates he'd like. Why did he do that? I don't know. But I know that when Neil Olshey was running the world's worst press conference, Chauncey Billups said that he and Dame went way back, off the court, meaningful relationship, which I think sounded like a very valuable reason to hire Chauncey Billups. Like, it's just notable that in Dame's, social media posts and talking a little bit to reporters with Team USA since then, he hasn't said the word Chauncey Billups once. He has not in any way endorsed. And he said he'd go to work, but in the past, he's the kind of guy who like he went to Paul Allen to save Terry Stott's job when Terry was on block. Like, this is a guy who knows how to be the most supportive of anyone in NBA history, and it's notable the degree to which it's very vanilla now. It's I'll go to work if I have to.
And he's on Team USA, which we know is a breeding ground for, hey bud, why don't you come play ball with me over here, or why don't we figure this out?
It's also, this is what I thought you were going to say, Jarod. What you said is exactly right, but there's a lot of media right there covering the team.
For sure.
So not only does he have his own social media account that he could easily say something positive, but he's got a chance to talk to the press all the time. They're right there. He doesn't have to reach out to them. They're right there. And as Henry just told me, I didn't know, crickets.
Silence, deafening.
And except Space Jam 2 is coming out, and his song on the soundtrack is called "It's About Time."
I read the lyrics in your article. Good stuff. Is it a good song?
Dame's a good rapper. I mean, I haven't heard the song, but Dame's. Yeah. I mean, of the NBA players in the league who rap, Dame is for sure the best. It's interesting, and I know Henry, you're like, well, as a Blazers fan, if we're gonna not have Damian, there's someone you like.
I mean, we're gonna actually have a story. I was working on a story, and it will be completed at some point, and we'll publish it. But what happens now? Like, I mean, the Blazers are in a terrible state, all in all. Don't get me wrong. I think I used the verb there, melting. But that said, Damian Lillard is one of the most valuable players in the NBA. They have him under contract for 3 more years. Like, they're going to get amazing offers. And with Nurk and CJ, et cetera, and maybe Norman Powell's back, this does not have to be a bad team, right? Like, they could lose Damian and still be very good. I spent a lot of the week kind of assessing. Well, first I listened to all the other podcasts about like the Ben Simmons trade rumors, and people are like, I mean, Colin Sexton, like, I was like, I think that he's a better player than that to me. I'm not saying that like he's Dame. He's certainly not, but like, I think maybe I value Ben Simmons a little more than most. And I don't know. Who do you guys think? Who's the best player who could conceivably be traded this summer who isn't named Damian Lillard?
Bradley Beal.
Could be Beal. Yeah.
That's
How old is he?
How
old is he?
28.
Yeah, I thought he was 28.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Looking it up right now.
Yeah, I could. I mean, he's been in the league since he was 19, 20.
28. Yep, exactly 28.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Bradley for sure. Julius Randle, maybe.
He could get traded.
He's
not in. He's not in Dame. Yeah, he's not in Dame.
I mean, yeah, he's not. But he did make an All NBA team this year. Now, granted, people were injured, but still, it happened.
Yeah. I mean, Dame is a singularly special talent.
Dame's the best.
He doesn't really guard all that much, but his net effect is amazing because his offense is top 1% in the league, probably top 2% in the league.
Dame's the best.
Hard to replace that.
And I think there's an oddity. So David and I were talking this morning, and basically like, you could make a case to trade everybody, get Oklahoma City style, array of picks and rebuild from there. That's a debate we can have. You wouldn't do that if you're trying to sell the team for top dollar, right?
Yeah.
The incoming billionaire is going to be very sensitive to how he or she will be perceived on SportsCenter. This doesn't win SportsCenter at all, right? Correct. So I think whatever, like, Lillard happy helps the sales price a lot. Lillard unhappy hurts the sales price a lot. I think the trade they're going to go for will be the one which has the most, like, this summer instant win the press conference kind of value. And so that's why it's like Bradley Beal or nobody else we said.
Right.
Right.
And it's a shame because his value is low right now because of how he performed in the postseason. But, Henry, I know you're high on him. Coach, I know you are too, as am I. Ben Simmons is excellent. Right. Like, he is an excellent player. Like, yes, we know about the one glaring hole in his game, but how much of that is just psychology, and you get him in the right environment and you get someone to work with him from a performance coach standpoint, and we're fine. I don't need you to be Steph Curry shooting. That ain't it, right? We can just do some things here, because you don't find 6'10" uber athletic dudes who are all NBA defense. They don't grow on trees. Like they really don't.
Well, 25-year-olds are valuable, right? Like, I mean, just in a different way, right? I just don't know. Injuries are the story of this season, and every superstar practically has been hurt. And, 25-year-old is less likely to get hurt than a 31-year-old. Like, that's just how it is. Like, yeah. And there's in the sort of cold hard analysis of this, Dame is like a 30th percentile defender. And Simmons, who's this, terrible offensive player, is a 70th percentile offensive player, right? Dame's offense is the best in the NBA, and that makes him far more valuable. He's in a different class, but I think this might be a moment where Simmons' perceived value is very low, which means you get Matisse Thybulle and Maxey, whatever, right? Like,
we know you like a little Thybulle and Maxey with that trade.
Honestly, you could get like. I think the Sixers have like 3 of the top 10 or 20 NBA defenders.
Yeah, they do.
Get them all.
They do. And that'll solve a lot of Portland's problems.
Yeah.
Speaking of youth guys, can we talk about, let's move over to the NBA Finals. How good is 24-year-old Devin Booker? I mean, I watched this guy and I'm like, man, Jrue Holiday, who we all agree, right? NBA all defense, like, and in the NBA, we know how this works, right? Good offense always beats good defense. That's just the nature of the game. Man, the shots he was hitting in game 4 and his footwork, I was like, this guy, how you can tell, and I know, Coach, you know this, you can tell when a guy works on the finer details of his craft and his feet, man. I'm like, this guy is next level, and he's only 24. How good is Devin Booker, Coach?
Well, first, I'm going to ask you guys a question. How many points did he score? 42, was it?
Yes.
How many threes did he make?
None.
How about that? How about that? And didn't go to the line that much either. Although he would have gone a lot less if PJ Tucker didn't keep hacking him. Yeah, he's an amazing offensive player. He is, if we're talking about Dame, like who's going to be the next Dame? When you say Colin Sexton, he ain't there now, but he's a brilliant shooter. He's very young. I'm not suggesting that they could trade for Colin Sexton at all, but he does have that kind of upside as a pure shooter. However, Dame does a lot of other things too. Booker as a pure scorer is pretty damn special. And that he can score 42 in the finals game without making a 3 as a guard it's just, you just don't see that a lot. He's really good. That the Bucks have some work to do. They can't go into this game tomorrow night thinking we're going to be all right if he gets off for 42 and we limit his threes. We're going to be fine. I don't believe that's the case. I think they need to focus more on him. Van Gundy talked a little bit on the air about top blocking him. They've done that. I was surprised Jeff said that because they've done that plenty of times. It's not, you can't do it automatically. They're trying to bring him up the floor. So you can't just give them a layup, which is what would happen. Which I bet in this game you'll see they'll have a quick play where the top blocking him, the screener on the top who's setting the screen will suddenly flash to the ball, and the second you throw it to the big guy, he'll go back door and get a layup, and that'll be that. Like there's a counter to it when you're that aggressively trying to block him from coming up the floor. But they've got to try to do some things. I think they should put Giannis on him more. He didn't guard him at all, unless the knee issue doesn't allow it, which we don't know that. I'm surprised that they just let him to continue to make shots over guys his size and smaller, or get fouled by PJ. And PJ is about his size, maybe an inch different. Booker is able to get that mid-range shot off pretty easily. Middleton gives him a little more trouble, but that's asking Chris to do a lot considering what he does offensively. That's why I think there should be a mix of Chris and Giannis on him for this game.
Jarod, a long time ago, David used to be on the warpath about the phrase rookie mistakes. And because basically, like, Chris Paul had a bunch of turnovers, right? Like, was it because he wasn't experienced enough? Like PJ Tucker, we're talking about just hacking people, right? Like PJ Tucker were a rookie, they would say is because he hadn't learned yet, right? But it's like, he's fucking learned. He's been there forever.
I'm so glad you remember that, because
I think that's what Devin Booker is the counter story, right? Devin Booker's good right now because he's young. His ligaments are fantastic, right? Like he can actually move, unlike Giannis, right? Like there are old people mistakes in the NBA all the time, right?
Yeah.
And like I think like Devin Booker's like, yeah, you want this is honestly with the Blazer trade thing. I'm like, please bring some young people, right?
Yes.
Like
we'll take all the
like,
youth.
Yeah, let's get players who are accelerating. Like that's what you want, right? And Devin
I was
Booker,
gonna speak about that. Not about Booker though, but about Carmelo. I've never.
This ought to be good.
I like him as a fan. I'm not really a fan of the game, but I like his the way he's matured. I can't say I'm proud of him. I don't know him, but I'm proud when I see players take advantage. This is something Jarod and I talked about with the young lady, the spelling bee champion.
Yes.
Like she's young. Carmelo, as a much older man, took advantage of his privilege of being in the NBA, which he worked his ass off for, obviously. And it just grown into such a better person, I think, than a lot of us are when we're that age and we have no money, much less having money. I never made sense for him to be on the team the way he is. He's such a defensive liability. I didn't look at his numbers this year in a while, but I've watched enough games. We're so quick to congratulate Carmelo when he makes jumpers, but there's just way better players than him available, in my opinion. And now when Dame is gone, now what? Like the whole idea was his kumbaya with Dame and CJ. Well, that's going to be blown up. I hope he coaches. Actually, I actually think he could be like I would probably hire him for the Pelicans because Zion can get a bunch of 8-footers with Carmelo helping him, not 18-footers, which Carmelo took too much of. But back when he first started playing, it was understood. I think he could get Zion doing that thing from 8 feet. We'd take that any day. Because you get fouled a lot from 8 feet, not from 18, unless PJ's guarding you. From 8 feet, you're going to get more fouls. And Carmelo's footwork, talking about footwork, genius, right? Mm-hmm. Total fundamental genius. And his shot was gorgeous. What wasn't when he was 19? He really improved his form and his mechanic. He could help Zion a ton. And he's seen everything, by the way, too. Where is Carmelo ranking in all-time scoring?
Oh, he's up there in terms of total points. Oh, he's
seen every defense known to man. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is valuable to a guy like Zion, who's about to see every defense known to man, right?
Zion Williamson has a new head coach, Willie Green, who is now the Suns' assistant coach, will effectively be the coach of the Pelicans as soon as his season ends. How are we feeling about that in New Orleans?
So happy. You guys know how I feel. I'm all for hiring more black men or women as coaches. I don't think they should have to be NBA players to do it, but at least he's not a star, right? I mean, Jacques Vaughn wasn't a star either, but he was a McDonald's All-American. Like I remember Jacques Vaughn had a cachet about him, went to Kansas for crying out loud, and is an amazing person. I'm so happy that he's hired, and I've heard really good things. I've called a lot of people and texted very, very good things about him. No idea if he'd be any good in New Orleans. I don't know him, but he seems the kind of guy that knows really. He had to compete his ass off to make it.
Sure,
and that's a big part of this game. Monty Williams talked about this every game. We're seeing tape of Monty Williams saying what they're outplaying us. Henry, he's saying it during every game. He's not making it up. We're watching the game. The Bucks had 17 offensive rebounds.
17.
Right, 17. Now, part of it's because they missed 8 million shots. Right, you're going to get more offensive rebounds when you keep missing shots.
Their ratio is actually not bad.
Right. Yeah, sure, you're right. So, but Monty's nailing it. Like the Bucks are just more active and athletic and bigger, of course. So that's a big part of it. If Willie Green can get all those guys in New Orleans just to compete another level higher, and prepare to play that way every day, that's a win for them.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Coach. I'm going to get into Chris Middleton in a minute, and really quick, I hope, so we saw the Orlando Magic hire Jamal Mosley, and obviously the Suns and the Pelicans hiring Willie Green. I hope that these teams actually give these coaches the opportunity to build the programs the way they want to build them, right? And not say, oh, it's 2 years, we still suck, you're getting fired, and we're hiring somebody new, right? Set realistic goals. Maybe the goal for Orlando and New Orleans should be, can we be a positive or at least neutral net rating team next year? Because they were not last year. If you can do that, that is a step in the right direction and actually give them a chance to build and move forward. You talked
Wait, John, are you suggesting that like the employees could do a really good job and the billionaires would screw it up?
Maybe.
Sounds like Jarod.
I mean, billionaires tend, as you so eloquently wrote today, they're ever so sensitive about things. Not only are they ever so sensitive, they are ever so impatient about most things, right? That's just the nature of people who have that kind of money and are wired that way. They don't have very long timetables in their brains for things they think should happen right away. So again, let's give these guys more than 18 months to turn these programs around. Coach, you mentioned Monty and, talking about we're being outcompeted at this stage, right? Game 5 of the NBA Finals after a condensed season. Everybody's tired, injured, banged up. Like, is this really about strategy at this point? Or is it about, man, who is going to compete harder than who at the end of the day?
Oh, no, it's definitely your question is a good question, but you have to have the strategy too. You can't just go out there and ball out. Like, no, there is an art to this game for sure, and heart is part of the art. But the science is very, very real, and it's 1,000 pages long. When you were just talking about Devin's footwork, there's so much work into the angles of the screens, where the screens are taking place on the court. Chris Paul, to Henry's point about age, I think is a great point. But it's also about the defensive design of what Milwaukee's doing, and the pressure of being in the finals, and all of that matters too. I don't know that they've solved the Giannis problem. It looked much better in Game 4. They crowded the paint on the catch. Part of what's happening here is because Giannis is driving less and cutting more, or just being around the rim more. You can't just build a wall because he doesn't have the ball in his hands, right? And so, but Giannis was just so out of it for 3 quarters. I thought the Suns scrambled very effectively in the first 3 quarters on the catch. But I don't know that Giannis is going to be the same as Game 5 Giannis. In fact, Milwaukee hopes that it's not. He needs to be Game 3, Game 4 Giannis. The stuff they ran with Middleton, ball screens and handoffs, they didn't run for 3 quarters. I don't know why.
Why not?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know. I can't believe they were saving it. That makes no sense to me at all. I think that they just got caught up with the players. Coaches can call whatever they want. Players still do what they want to do.
I was just going to ask you that, Coach. Yeah. In the NBA, I know this. Coaches say something, but I know for a fact players are like, man, screw that. We're doing this. I don't think I wouldn't assign an emotion to it, Jarod, necessarily. Like, I really don't think Kevin Durant was thinking Steve Nash like this, fuck off, I got this. No.
I think Kevin Durant definitely blew Nash's calls off sometimes. He's Kevin Durant. And I think coaches need to give their players, like Kevin Durant, some leeway. So I think it's more of, I hear you, but, and in my opinion, you have to empower that but when it's a great, Cole Anthony doing it in Orlando, probably not a good idea, right? He's just starting out. When it's a veteran player, especially an all-star, you've got to give them some leeway. I also think that had Jrue Holiday made, what was he, 4 of 20? Mm-hmm. If he just goes 8 of 20, it's a much better game. It's still not a good game for him, but it's much better, and the offense looks better. I think he's as key in this series as anything going forward. So they better run some more stuff for other people, and then he might get involved when the domino falls, or they get some switches and rotation and he attacks, smaller players, whatever. I do think they need to run better stuff, and I think Phoenix needs to be prepared for plan B if Giannis is more engaged. I don't think they know enough after Game 4, in my opinion, anyway.
And this will dovetail into my Chris Middleton point I want to talk about. These players are apex predators in the NBA, right? And the NBA Finals is the ultimate hunting ground, right? The Giannis Middleton pick and roll, that works every single time. Giannis is one of the rare NBA superstars, and when he sets a pick and demolishes whoever comes into him.
And doesn't do it illegally.
Right. Why aren't they running it every time? You can't stop it.
Well, so every time is not the answer. More is the answer. Every time gives them a better chance to figure it out. Like, I never want to run the same play twice in a row, because I feel like it increases the chance of defense of figuring out what to do. But if you make them deal with 4 other things in between, well, that randomness may make it tougher on them to figure out. This is so much about math, right? And I know you guys love that about this game. Booker, they didn't win. He scored 42. It took a lot of shots to do it because he didn't make a single 3, right? And if you eliminate it from the line, it's even going to be less efficient. So to me, Phoenix has to come up with ways to just have Giannis not have a 40-point game on 21 shots, 22 shots. If he doesn't make free throws, that'll really help. If he is struggling from the line, maybe you're a little willing to be more physical, might even play Torrey Craig a little bit more and not worry about fouling so much. They've got to protect Ayton and Booker. I mean, they've had 2 games here where Ayton and Booker being in foul trouble has caused a big problem, right? You've got to try to keep those guys out of foul trouble. To me, the most important question going in is how's Chris Paul's wrist?
Yeah.
Because Giannis didn't look right, I thought, from a stress and anxiety standpoint, although it could be the knee, we don't know. Chris Paul didn't look right, I thought, because of his wrist.
Yeah, we don't see Chris turn the ball over like that. And I'm going to give the Bucks a little bit of credit, but not that much credit. And apparently Yusuf Nurkic is going after Henry Abbott on Twitter, obviously about his Blazers article. Somebody please drop the link in here. I want to see what Big Nurk is saying about Henry, because this is crazy. But let's talk about Chris Middleton, Coach. And I titled it in the document, Perception versus Reality. I think everyone watching knows Chris Middleton is very good at basketball. But I don't like, there's something that goes on where people don't think he's that good, and I don't really know what that good is. And here's how I think I break it down. He has games like game 4 where he scores 42, and you're like, oh, this guy is legit. And you see stuff in his game where he gets the mid-range, he can shoot threes. You're like, he looks like Kawhi Leonard or Paul George or any one of the other great wings in the league. Yet, when we talk about the great wings in the league, he is not named 1, 2, 3, 4. We usually probably go through 7, 8 names before we get to Chris Middleton. What is perception and reality with this guy?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to, for one. Those of us that really study the game, and I'm going to answer your question with, this is the Nurkic thing.
Let's see. Y'all really? What is that? A boot? What's
I didn't realize Henry had Canadian blood.
It looks like Thomas the Tank Engine a little bit.
It does. and caps, because he says Henry's lying. That's what the caps are. But of course, we know Henry's not lying. This is very well sourced, my friends. Anyway, continue.
But not only that, but as Henry writes in the article, you don't have to be able to read hieroglyphics,
right,
to get his point. or he could just have said at any point, Chauncey's my guy. I can't wait to start the year. and with the national reporters in his face every day in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
What should I say in reply?
What should I say in reply?
we stand by our story.
Yes. We are called
to quote Ben Bradley.
We are called TrueHoop for a reason.
To quote Ben Bradley, we stand by our story.
It should be funny though, right? Come on, it's much better to be funny.
Yeah, we gotta have some funny.
I would disarm him with charm. Like, I'm a huge fan, nerd. Huge
Caleb,
fan. Very obviously a huge fan.
Caleb's right. Quote tweet it and say pull up then. I love it. That's what you say. Caleb says you quote tweet what he says and you write pull up then. I love it. That's exactly how you respond.
All right, do you want to leave, Henry, so you can focus on that? Or do you want to wait till after the show?
I was just gonna do everything at once like a team.
Yeah, do it all. Yeah, do it all. That's you might say something even more funny. You might say something more funny when you do it multitask. So keep going.
Invite him to come on the show.
Oh yeah, send him the link. We're going to come on right now.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Is he in Europe?
No, because then if I tweet the link, we're gonna get a whole bunch of crazy in here.
It'll be all chaos in here.
So as we're laughing, I'll tell you something to answer your question about Chris.
Yeah.
So we're in Clubhouse now. So I must have signed up when I did and checked off subjects that I liked. And one of them, shockingly, is basketball. So I'm getting lots of updates about lots of people talking about basketball. And 2 days in a row, I thought, let me listen to the people, right? I don't tend to listen to the
bad idea.
So I put on a show. It's called The Barbershop. Great name. It's very entertaining for sure. There must have been 25 people. And I got on there right away. They invited me to be a speaker, which I said yes the second time. I didn't ever say anything because there's no way to do it. There's all yelling at each other. These guys have no idea what they're talking about except they're big basketball fans. So it's okay. Like, you don't have to know about things like win shares and win shares per 48. Like, a lot of things they're arguing about, we can just look up.
Right.
And if you know analytics, and I know 5% of what the world's smartest people know, not 5%, 0.5%, but that 0.5% represents a lot of knowledge. So I know that they're building these metrics with assuming things that people are just guessing about. Like, no, they're evening out everything. That's what makes the metric better. Is there what would you be like if you were just playing with average players and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm hearing all these people argue, and I'm just thinking, you're arguing. It's like arguing over gravity. We know gravity exists. Like, there's things you can argue about, but certain things in science are inarguable. So that being said, Chris Middleton doesn't have that art part of what excites you. He isn't dunking on you typically. He isn't giving you the Iverson, the DC crossover. Like, he's a very good ball handler at 6'7", 6'8", to help him get to where he wants to go on the court. But he's not breaking your ankles, which is fine with me, but fans like broken ankles, right? He's able to make jump shots over people really, really, really well. Mm-hmm. And also, he contests those same shots very, very well, which coaches value a great deal if you want to win basketball games. His best play of the game was the left-hand finish over Devin Booker, who brilliantly didn't foul him on that last after the steal from Chris Paul's turnover. Like he was exhausted. He looked like Michael Jordan in the flu game when he made that. I think it might have been the last shot he made, the left-hand shot, which is not hard for him to do anymore. But racing the floor, finishing in traffic, not throwing them off with your right arm. Like, he's so fundamentally sound.
He is.
And he's gifted as a shooter. That works. And, the other thing, too, is in Booker, same thing. So we spend all of our time as coaches with our players, teaching them how to play the game. There are certain things they'll never get. Some guys just can't learn to score. That doesn't mean they won't score when they're wide open. But the guys that know how to get open shots for themselves in the blink of an eye. I studied that an agent made a highlight reel of a player for me to watch over the weekend. And I can appreciate the skill of this player who can get open for a half a second and then make the shot. That's really hard to do. Some players may need a full second, right? Middleton can do it off the screen or with the ball in his hands. And it almost doesn't matter who's guarding you. It does to some degree, but almost doesn't. There's not a lot of guys that can do that. Those that do that, they're all-stars, right? They're the best players in the game. And I love Middleton. We wrote an article, maybe it was year one of TrueHoop during the World Championships, where I thought he has a chance to be one of our key players on our Team USA team because of that skill. Yep. It's hard to make those shots against good defense, and he's good at it, really good at it.
Yeah, I think, it's all the things you said, Coach, right? Like, for the casual fan, he doesn't have like that bug or bounce to his game, right? That kind of excites and gets your neurons firing. But he has the number one skill set, which I think is the most valuable, particularly in high leverage playoff games, which is the ability to create and make your own shot, right? That's what we need in the playoffs. And he can do that very well. So yeah, no, Chris Middleton's excellent. Like, he doesn't score 40 every night, but he doesn't need to.
Unafraid of the moment too. Let's be fair. Mm-hmm. We're seeing Jrue Holiday offensively shrink in the moment, not defensively. And he's made some brilliant passes, and he's the one who made the key pass when Middleton made that left-hand layup. Jrue could have fucked that up. Like, it was not an easy 2-on-1 if Jrue was thinking score. Luckily, he thought score, but really wanted to pass the whole time. He sold score, and Booker was late getting to Middleton. So Booker and Middleton are not afraid of the moment. And to his credit, neither is Giannis.
Yes, correct.
So everyone talks about Giannis's block shot, as they should. It was an amazing shot block, right? I love the effort that he made. Mm-hmm. He had no idea if the pass was any good. The reason why he's able to block the shot is the pass a little bit behind Ayton, enough to give. And Giannis talked about this in the press conference. Yep. Like, if it's a perfect pass, I probably don't get there. Although I'm not convinced Ayton would have dunked it, but it would have been a harder block shot and a more likely foul. But he was willing to at least contest it. Mm-hmm. On global TV, he might have got dunked on, and he didn't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. And just like Middleton missed those last two shots, he had made a bunch, but he missed two in a row. They still won the game. The being courageous or brave in the moment, belief in yourself, is a big part of this game.
Huge skill, and you were right about that play. We talked about it a little bit on Clubhouse. You saw when Ayton did not have two full hands on it coming down. One hand, left hand was on it. The right side had like two fingers on it. And I think, again, that was part of the reason why Giannis was able to get it. Because I think if Ayton had both of his big mitts holding it this way, probably would have dunked it or gotten fouled, right? And think about the sequence of events after that. He gets fouled. Okay, he makes free throws. Like, they're going against the set defense, whatever. As opposed to the block, race out. Now we score, right? Like it changed
Right.
the whole tenor of the game right there in that. And that's your point about him not being afraid. You could have gotten dunked on, been made fun of on social media, would have been a meme, the whole nine. And it's not about piling on Ben Simmons, though, but that is a big difference between Ben Simmons and Giannis, right? Giannis doesn't care if he looks stupid, right? Does not care. Whereas Ben's like, if I do this wrong, 100 million people are going to yell at me and say I'm an idiot, right? And it's this difficult thing that he can't quite bounce.
What do you got?
Oh, Nurk.
I'm trying to make him say something.
That's so good. So good.
We'll see. He's not going to say anything.
I love it. I love it.
Henry, you're listening to this. I asked Nurkic basically. I was like, Dame's come close to saying this himself. Has he told you different? I don't know what he can say to that. Nurk threatened to leave. Nurk said in his ex interview that he wasn't sure he'd be back. Like, whatever.
Did he really?
Actually, can we just have a little pause to celebrate a thing about the NBA, which is we're talking about the second game-winning alley-oop attempt of these playoffs. Like, this is the finest thing that can happen to basketball, as far as I'm concerned. Is like what's more fun than an alley-oop? What's more incredible? And like with the game on the line, come on! Like, thank you, DeAndre.
I mean, if they make it, it's a 2-point game. It ain't over yet, but still,
it changes.
It's a hell of a play to run with a minute and a half to go in the game. In fact, they didn't run the play. It was a read. Booker made the read that he wouldn't be able to get to, and he made a good pass. In fact, I would argue maybe a very good pass. A bad pass, it's too low, right?
Yeah,
or it's too high.
Away. Yeah, or out of bounds.
Too low is clearly stolen. Too high, it's out of bounds.
Out of bounds. Yep.
It was a very good pass. It just wasn't a perfect pass. And
it wasn't pinpoint, but it's hard to make a pinpoint pass in that moment.
But David, in the bigger picture, like most super high leverage situations, like if there have been 5,000 of them since I started covering the league, 4,800 of them have been super heavily covered guy taking a fadeaway or some like.
Right. Oh yeah, I agree.
That this is happening.
Completely agree.
Moments is. Mwah.
Oh, Henry,
I completely agree.
I'm going to bring up one that might hurt your feelings, Henry.
There's a lot, Jarod. There's a lot.
What Western Conference playoffs, Lakers, Blazers.
Go.
You know the famous one, right? The Kobe to Shaq. I was like, oh, that was a good one.
That was
amazing.
But that was because of who threw it and how he reacted as much as anything.
Yes, Shaq's reaction was insane. It was
that was it's Shaq.
By the way, Henry, I was rooting for your Blazers in that series, and they should have fucking won that series. They should have. They really should have won that series.
The game that launched Terrell Bosa's gambling career. He bet the farm on the Lakers in that series, and that's how he became a professional gambler. Yeah. No, that was like the 9 seconds when Shaq and Kobe were best friends.
I want to be clear, our famous doctor from London, Bilal.
This is an amazing point. Yeah.
I don't wear tank tops publicly. My wife would divorce me so quickly. She wouldn't divorce me quickly. But it wouldn't be the sweet, loving household that we have. She already sees it enough during the day because it's hot in Florida. I don't wear them publicly. I'm 56 years old.
Bilal, it is 98 degrees and 1,000,000,000% humidity here in New York City today. And obviously doing this show, so my air is not running right now. I was like, it's going to be hot. So I said,
oh, you going to have the air conditioning on?
No, because I try to keep my audio levels good, right? See, Jade has scarred me about this, listening to so many podcasts over the years. And Jade can hear like a tick from I'm like, how do you hear that? There's nothing there. But, he freaks out about that. So that's like gotten traumatic in my brain. So I'm like, oh my God, no noise. Got to shut everything off.
Rod, we need to give you like I don't know what the podcasting equivalent of Purple Heart is, but like you're suffering for your art more than anyone.
Yes.
I got a loud air conditioner on.
That's a bridge too far for me, Rod, I can tell you that. If we ever want to do a tank top show, let's just do audio only. I'm all in. I do those all the time. When people ask me to come on, the very first question I text back is, video or audio? I have to change if it's video if I want to keep it. Although my wife doesn't watch these things. She's busy with her own life. So I probably get away with it a little bit. But I want to bring a point up about that pass.
Yeah.
And the narrow margin of error, right? So let's say he does make the shot and maybe gets fouled, by the way, because his momentum would carry more to the rim. Maybe it's a 2 or 3 point game, right? He's a very good free throw shooter and advantage Suns. So this is why Giannis has to take 0 threes in these next 3 games. If there's 3, 0. Like there's just no margin. At the end of any game, every one possession could have made the difference, and you're making 10% or whatever bad number it is. Now, Jrue Holiday is shooting 20% from 3, 36% last series and 6 games, and it was in like 29 the series before. So he's not killing the postseason, but he is a solid shooter. Not great, solid. Pat Connaughton going in was maybe solid, and it's been a little better than solid. Giannis hasn't earned that even. It's not even close to solid. So 0 threes from you going forward, buddy. 0 threes.
Yes, Giannis needs to use the sledgehammer, right? The sledgehammer works. It's fine. Don't try to be delicate.
I mean, at this point,
sledgehammer. That's just fine.
At this point,
like, you might break some things around using the sledgehammer, but that's fine. That works for you. You keep doing that. You
lose a 1-point game and then you lose the series because of it, and you took 4 threes or 3 threes or 2 threes or 1. Any one of those possessions, like I said, it's math. It's all math. It's why you've got to find bridges on Middleton as much as you can, because his length bothers him just a little bit more, and why you can't have Connaughton on Booker ever. Because it's like Booker versus Connaughton is like Dirk versus the world.
Well, Henry,
it's an uncontested shot.
This is something Henry notes all the time when the TrueHoop video I did about the seek and destroy mindset in the playoffs. There's just a certain player that fits an archetype, and you guys are smart. Figure it out. That players hunt every time he is on the floor. That's just what they do. Oh no, get that guy on the island. We want him. And yeah, it happens to be Connaughton in this case.
But Connaughton's playing great defense against
he's a very good athlete. He's a very good athlete.
Right. Booker's not going by him.
Right.
But the contested 15-footer is a layup for Booker. It's a contested layup, but it's still a layup because Connaughton can't get to where Booker goes. That's why I think you got to go Middleton and Giannis on him a lot more. So I feel for Connaughton. It's just, but that's how everyone felt about guarding Dirk for over a decade, right? There's nothing I can do about that shot.
There are certain guys in this league, right, who we talk about all the time. It doesn't matter. Hand in their face, contest, whatever. Like, they're just good at that. Like they've taken a million shots of those and they make them with routine frequency.
Which is why you defend them different. Go ahead.
They make them at 55%.
Which is good.
Right? Which for a 2-pointer.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like 1.1. Wait, is that right? Am I doing that right?
Well,
yes, but there's something you have to factor in, Henry, and that is the fouls. So
factored. But so contested twos suck. It's the worst category. You'd be much better with like Pat Connaughton shooting a 3 than Devin Booker shooting contested 2, right? Like in terms of the numbers. But the fact is, like, Pat Connaughton can't get himself open for 3 that often, right? Like, this is what you can get when you can't get what you really want, right? Like, to me, that this is the confusion is like a superstar taking a contested 2 is super valuable because often your A plan is broken.
That's exactly right.
It's not a good A plan, right?
This is Milwaukee's defense being elite. I mean, how many corner threes has the Phoenix had since game 2? I mean, 2? 3, this is their bread and butter.
They cut them off. Yeah.
And Milwaukee is just doing a much better job of getting there early, staying with them. And so this is where the superstars make their money, is they get us a better shot than we otherwise would when we can't get our primary shot. And it's why I've been favoring Milwaukee through this series is I think they just have more answers defensively than Phoenix does to slow that down. I told Henry, though, after game 4, it was even they won, I thought for the first time, and I said this to you, Jarod, on the show, maybe Phoenix can win this series because they have 2 home games.
Yeah.
But I studied a lot of tape this morning, and at the end of the day, and we'll talk about the end, I'm sure, I just can't believe Jrue is going to continue to be this bad. I just, at the end of the day, I'm not betting. If I was a betting man, I would just say, like, I got to believe in something, and I'm going to believe in Jrue a little bit more than the Phoenix home crowd. Because I think they're the better team.
That's the thing, right? And some of this, it is statistical, right? Like, you can't have 6 bad games in a row, but you can, right? Like,
you can, sure.
The playoffs are single-handedly a small sample size, but also very important in terms of what they mean for how you are viewed, right? Yeah. You can have 6 shitty games in the finals, and everyone's going to think suck. But if you look at your overall numbers, it's like, oh, but actually you were very good in the playoffs. You just picked the worst time to have your 6 worst games, but that can happen, right? So this could be Jrue's, we're not going to be good for 6 games, and that might mean they lose, right? Doesn't mean he's bad. It just means he picked a bad time to be bad.
Right. So to me, it's more about, everything you said, I completely agree with. If they were guarding Jrue better, I would even endorse that more. But he's missing shots. He just doesn't miss often. You miss shots. He's getting he's getting open because they've got to worry about Giannis so much. And so, how'd you like to be the defensive coordinator for the Bucks now? You didn't get Giannis his best. He still gave you 20 plus in whatever rebounds. Yeah, a lot, 17 rebounds, whatever it was. Now you got Middleton cooking. He wasn't cooking before. You're not even thinking about Jrue Holiday. Like, he's not even on your scouting report right now, right? Other than he's circling saying, make him shoot more, right? Like, you've got to stop these other two, and you can't. And to also take away Jrue's best looks, he's going to get really good looks. And they're shooting terribly in Milwaukee in this last game, especially terribly.
But that's also the thing as a team, right? Go ahead, Henry.
The best, I think I mind saying this about shooting. I was trying to learn from Stat Geeks, basically, what's the best predictor of how I'm going to shoot tonight? Is it how I shot last game? Is it how I shot last game against this opponent? Is how I shot this season, these playoffs, my whole career? And basically in predicting most things in human activity, question one is, do we know why it's happening the way it's happening, right? So maybe there's something wrong with Jrue. Maybe there's something wrong with his form or his home life or his body, right? If that's the cause, then the best predictor is what happened in the practice gym today, right? But if it's not that, then the best predictor is the biggest sample you can get, right? It's all the years, going back to college and grade school. And in that, Jrue would, just like I'm very proud that I said I thought Devin Booker was going to recover after his poor scoring game, and he fucking did. Just because going back to average is what people do, right? Yes. Same thing with Jrue, right? Unless there's something wrong, and David might tell us there is. I think he's talking about it. There was.
I told this to Henry in this last game. Jrue got a little. I know Jrue shot. I trained Jrue when he first came out of college. I didn't teach him how to shoot. He shot just fine without me, but I saw it up close and personal. And it's the same shot, and he got a little hitch. He started holding on to it just a millisecond longer. That's an issue, right? There's something wrong with the machine. If he was a car, the mechanic would say, leave it in the shop. I got to tinker with it for a couple of days. I'm not sure what I'll find. It might be something very simple, but it's something. So once I saw the very first time he hitched, I said to myself, oh, he's not making any more jumpers. That's the guy now chucking it because he's supposed to shoot. That's a big problem. Right. I always say to players, we only shoot for one reason, period. And that's to score. Because normally I'll say, why are you shooting? And they always say the same thing. I'm open. No. Never would I want you to say. You shoot because you think you're going to score. It's got to be that mindset, right? Jrue was shooting the other day because he was open. And that shot was broke. Now, it's easily fixed, in my opinion. Henry's exactly right. The most important thing is, how does it look in practice the day of the game? And probably will look fine, but stress comes in and gets it right back to where it was before, and they're fucked. Well, they're just for game 5. I think they need him to play much better in game 5. I think Phoenix will play much better with that crowd.
I'm going to guess, let me check if I'm right. I'm going to guess that over the rest of these finals, his 3-point shooting percentage will be very close to his career average. Let's see if I'm right.
Okay. Again, he had 36 last, which is probably his career average, about 36. Yeah. This against Brooklyn, 29. It's not just this series. This series he's at 20.
It's not good.
And he's been and he had one of them was 5 to 10, I think.
Yeah, it's
1 to 12. If I remember right, he was 1 to 12 in every game that isn't the 5 to 10 game. Right. That's
perfect.
Yeah.
The reality is that it's the finals, guys, right? Guys are keenly aware that it's the finals and it affects everybody differently, right? I do want to say really quick about the guys we mentioned, Book, Middleton, and Holiday. So Team USA thinks they're all going to save them when they fly a 1,000,000-hour flight to Tokyo after playing the most grueling, intense basketball of their lives. And, oh yeah, no problem. We're ready to play 30 minutes in international competition. What the hell were they thinking putting this roster together? Terrible, it's terrible
like all around. On superhumanism, right?
Which doesn't exist. Not a thing.
How How soon do the games start, Jarod, for basketball?
20 minutes, half hour.
Is it within a couple of days? No, I mean, because there's so many games, it is normally something. Oh, they canceled the game tonight.
Yeah, because of COVID.
I don't know that they'll have the Olympics. I really think it's about to be a total. I don't want to bring. We haven't talked about COVID a whole lot, but
right.
I think it's about to be a mess. Major League Baseball had a positive test in the All-Star game. Like
the Mets GM said the other day, COVID is a fluid situation with us right now. What the does that mean? A fluid situation? Like, are you vaccinated? Are you not? What's happening? Like, and we know when sports start canceling things, bad news happening.
I don't want to change the topic or be a downer, but I only came on the show because I was promised we would talk about tinkling.
Yes, let's finish the show talking about that. So everyone knows by now, Giannis was asked after game 4. He took himself out again at the beginning of the game. And he said, oh, it's because I have to. How do you guys say? I want to be polite. I had to go take a tinkle. And I immediately call BS on that because in game 3, we saw him. Because he said, oh, they said, was the same thing in game 3? Yeah. And the reporter knew why he was asking if it was the same thing in game 3 because the reporter watched him in game 3. Giannis did not go to the back to use the bathroom. That is not the reason why he came out of the game. We've all pointed it out that it is because he is so hyped up. He's got to get himself and his breathing back under control. Coach, I know you have more thoughts on this.
Yes, I just asked my wife something. I did not know a reporter witnessed it. All I know is I saw what happened in game 3, and the exact same thing happened in game 4, a couple minutes in. Hey, I need a sub. And I'm sorry that you have so much time to pee before the game. They're there hours early. And as Henry reminded me, you can even go to their national anthem if you want to. Like
it's a habit for a lot of players to not be out there for the national anthem. So
yeah, it's game 4, dude. You're down 2-1 at home. Like, we need you every minute you're available. Doesn't mean we'll play you, but that's our choice. It shouldn't be yours because you have to go tinkle. No, this is him having the same issue as before, and then he couldn't move. Listen, if his bladder was so full, you got to say to the coach, I need a timeout because he could not move. That was not a tinkle timeout. That was, I can't move my legs. I run up and down like Frankenstein in the full court. Run is the wrong word. I jog back and forth because it was a few minute stretch where there's no fouls. And in the half court, go watch the tape. He doesn't move on defense. Mm-hmm. He doesn't move on offense. He is solid and I think paralyzed from anxiety, or just his heart racing like crazy or whatever. But so we'll see what happens tonight. Because if it happens a third time in a row tomorrow night, yeah, it's not. Well, he doesn't need a diuretic.
Assuming he lied about it, well, that now it's fishy.
Yep.
Right. Like you can do whatever you want. You're young. Right. Like he could have told us anything, right? He could have been like, "Hey, I don't want to talk about it." He could have said, "I was too hyped up." Well, he could have said anything. It would have been fine. But now that he said something that seems like it wasn't true, now I'm like now that's this is a little bit like when your kids are like, no, I didn't eat anything. And it's like, well, all the cupcakes are missing. if you just said you were hungry, then we all understand cupcakes, right? Like totally now that you say anything, like now I got to put my inspector hat on. You know what I mean? Like now I got what the hell actually happened here?
I lost track. Did you say Judy's sending us cupcakes? I'll send you my address.
Yeah, Judy, about those cupcakes. Where are we at on that?
We're going to Judy's house tonight for to celebrate my son's birthday, and it's going to be epic. We're going to eat like lords.
Happy birthday, Duncan. You know, I wonder too, Henry, how much of this is the whole talk about embarrassment thing? If Giannis says that he's too anxious, everyone on the talk shows are going to be like, and is that a large part of this? I feel like it probably is.
I mean, wait, everyone in the NBA is being super macho? No way. Health ramifications?
I wish it's such a great teaching point. I wish Bud would say to Giannis, dude, you want to win so badly, you're locking up a little bit. Yeah. It's okay, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
You're still getting your minutes. Nothing's changed at all. I would even argue sometimes it's good. Yeah. Like I like the idea of sometimes taking your start after 3 or 4 minutes. Try someone else early in the game when the other team isn't so hot either necessarily. Just we got your back. You're fine. I wish they would do that.
But even at the level of athleticism that I do at my age, whether it's running or whatever, I know the biggest thing is getting my breathing under control, right? Once I do that, I know I'm fine, right? Like It's fine. Look, no harm, no foul. Everyone, you do mindfulness, anything you do, meditating. The first thing I tell you, get your breathing under control.
You know what I recommend, Jarod? Skip all that and just take a leak.
He fell down. He fell down in the game, and it wasn't that hard to fall. He was not rushing to get up. No. That's why his free throw routine is so slow. He's just getting his rest.
Yeah,
which is great. Just tell the truth. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It's about that time. Jude's going to come on and give us the boot. So thank you, Henry. Thank you.
Saturday night live.
Saturday night. Yeah, we'll be on Clubhouse. Make sure you guys come on. We're going to be doing the post-game breakdown. Maybe Henry will stay up for this one. We don't know. We'll see.
I'll try.
I wouldn't bet on it. And guest star Nurkic, right?
Oh, guest star Nurkic.
Sure.
That's true.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.